Welcome to the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast, where we dive into inspiring stories, thrilling adventures, and expert insights from leaders and legends across the outdoor adventure community. Whether you're an avid hiker, passionate camper, or adventure traveler, each episode brings you up close and personal with guests who've lived it, explored it, and made it their mission to share their experiences with you. Let's get after it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today I'm speaking with Jeff Wilser. Jeff is an author of 8 books, public speaker, and host of the AI Curious podcast, where he helps leaders understand how to responsibly embrace AI through workshops, talks, and major conferences. His writing spans the New York Times, Fast Company, Time, GQ, Condé Nast Traveler, and the Explorers Club, blending deep knowledge of tech, travel, and culture with a rare talent for translating geek speak to plain talk. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Rick, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Good to talk to you. It's going to be exciting. The Explorers Club has always been one of those clubs it's like one of those clubs that like started when the whole thing started, right? I mean, some of your members, I was looking the other day, just fantastic, unbelievable, original, climbers and explorers. It's fascinating. So it must be a great group to work with. And
it's absolutely, it's one thing I've heard when I first got involved is that you will not find anyone boring at the Explorers Club. And it is so true. Every event I go to, whether it's something casual, more formal, dinner event, it's like the best dinner party you've ever been to. Someone's like, I just got back from the bottom of the ocean. Oh, I'm about to go train to go to outer space. Like you will not find a more interesting group of people ever. It's amazing.
Yeah. And you get to meet your heroes. Rub elbows with your heroes, right? Some of them, a lot of them.
No question about it. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolute honor. Yeah.
When I was at Eagle Creek, we were the presenting sponsor of the Banff Mountain Film Festival. So we used to go up to that all the time. And same kind of thing. It's just like everybody that you ever wanted to shake hands with, all the books that you read were written by these guys. It was just fantastic. So very cool. So what drew you to outdoors and exploring?
It's a great question. And honestly, I wish I had some like beautiful, crisp childhood memory, but it almost feels more like that's like kind of wondering what draws you to music. To me, it's just that's such a kind of a primal part of being a human is this kind of desire to explore, to like see what's over that next hill. And I do not, for you and for your listeners, I do not personally claim to be an explorer who's like out there, advanced at the bleeding edge of science and in the fields, returning with data that's going to help. I'm not. So those folks are the heroes. I am not personally doing that.
That guy, yeah.
But not, I love those.
We all do, doing that. Right? We all do,
right?
Me. Yeah.
But to the extent that I do have that hunger, that drive to just get out there and even in my own very modest way, kind of explore my own terms. That just it's hard to imagine a life not doing that, right? It's hard to imagine not when you have the opportunity, even if it's as simple as this really cool trail you heard about and it's not fully mapped out, but you kind of want to just ramble down it. Like that just feels just an a priori part of being a human to me.
Yeah, same to me. I'm pretty curious that way too. A lot of folks aren't though. I mean, a lot of folks, they just go wander off and I'm not sure what drives them down that curiosity path, but something still causes them to move forward down the path,
Well, and then I guess to your point, Rick, there are a lot of folks who just don't have an interest, right? I'm saying it's human. And it feels human to me, and I'm sure it feels human to you and your listeners. But there are folks who would prefer to be in a cruise for 7 days, right? And say, no, I just want to be pampered and coddled and stay in my nice little
or I want to go to Yosemite and stay in my Airstream. That's what I want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do think actually, although on a slightly more serious note, I do think this kind of it's my own personal theory I'm making up on the fly, but that inertia can be a real thing. And when people are accustomed to not moving and staying indoors or even doing like outdoor stuff in the laziest possible way, right? Like being a passenger on a cruise ship and just sitting there. When you get used to that, you just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The moment though you start kind of baby steps of, oh, I kind of want to like just, I'm going to take this half a mile hike up the hill, up a gradual hill, like that, there's a virtuous cycle of, oh, that felt pretty good, right? The endorphins get going and kind of like it just, there's that old saying, it's certainly not my own, but like movement is medicine in many ways, right? And so we do that. The more we do that, the inertia kicks in, and we keep want to do it more and more.
Yeah, and like you say, everybody's got their own thing. So we all walk through life on our own path, and it's all fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're a speaker, an AI strategist, an author, a journalist, host of podcasts, AI Curious, and the People's AI. When do you sleep? That's quite a lot going on there.
Look, I'm an endlessly curious person, which inevitably draws me to many different topics and different projects and missions. And I do think that is one trait I've seen a lot in the Explorers Club, and especially in the stories in the Explorers Club book. I think one in the new book, Letters from the Edge, there's plenty of this where explorers often, the reality is modern day explorers, and I've interviewed many, probably hundreds of them in the last few years now. And there are some whose full-time job is they are a paid scientist from NASA,
exactly.
let's say.
They get to explore. Right.
Awesome. I mean, when that is your full-time job, you're like, amazing. And
in hindsight,
God bless
how
all
do I
of
get
them.
one of those jobs?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for every one of those, there might be 20 or 40 explorers who they are absolute, legit, top-tier explorers. Yet they might also have a day job of vice president at a marketing company, right? Or being consulting or being a lawyer. And then they, on the side, they go and they're in the Sahara gathering this crucial data to help this endangered species, right? And that's really important work. And so I think that like it's a sneaky common thread amongst explorers is being this kind of multi-hyphenate, right? They're a climate change scientist. They're also a photographer. They're also, you'll find them in the field frequently. They might be in Patagonia next month. And what you might not see from their website or from Instagram is, and they're also delivering a presentation to the board of directors about the third quarter results, right? So I think a lot of explorers, you have this variety of vocations and interests.
Yeah, it keeps them busy. Somebody told me once, God, years ago, that because I'm like that too. I have like 6 things going on at once.
Yeah.
And my mom used to tell me. I remember when I was a little kid, I wanted to do it all. Right? I want to play baseball, football, basketball, track. All the things. You got to pick 3, guy. You can't do all of them. And somebody said the other day she used the term omnipotentialite or potentialite, where some people just have this curiosity and the ability to go do all these things, right? Because it's one thing to be curious about it. It's another thing to do them, and then another to do them with any level of success, or acclaim.
Right.
So it's pretty interesting. I think there's those of us that just can't.
That's a great point, because I'm curious about space travel. There's no way in hell I would love to, but there's no chance I will be donning a astronaut suit anytime soon.
You never know. Don't say never. You never know.
If you're listening, if anyone out there listening who wants to fund my trip to space, hit me up.
You might get that advice to tag along. You never know. So your bio says you began your career as a financial analyst for Intel Corp. When and what made you switch?
It's funny. Rick. This was a lifetime ago. And I'm dating myself, but it was in the late 90s, back when Intel Corporation was kind of at the time, kind of the king of its tech hill, right? It was kind of where kind of Google and Apple are right now in the overall ecosystem. And I was very fortunate to have a good kind of like corporate finance kind of business job right out of college and doing important things with spreadsheets and so on. And I remember this feeling at the time like, something was tugging at me that this was, the work was in some respects interesting, but it didn't quite capture my imagination. And it felt like I wanted to do something else, something different, something more. And I even remember creating a spreadsheet of like possible career paths, with then like pros and cons for each one. And I had on there things like staying in finance was one, becoming a professor of history was one, professor of philosophy was one. I did not honestly, if I had thought that if I was realized at the time that being an explorer was a career, I might have had that on my spreadsheet. That wasn't even I didn't have the imagination to think of that.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
Late to the game. But I think
a lot of us stumbled into that path though too, because I was way into all the outdoor recreation stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I went, I think it was my second year of college, I actually flunked out, had to get my grades up, and found this outdoor recreation degree thing and just changed my life. I was like, wait a minute, I can get a degree in this outdoor stuff? Done.
Like, if I had seen that back then, I might have done the same thing, right? But the on the spreadsheet, the one row that I couldn't get out of my craw was the idea of becoming a writer. Now, at the top, this made on the surface no sense. I had no writing background. I had no writing classes in college or even high school. I was not one of those people who was like scribbling, stories and plots and books when I was like 8 years old. Not at all. But something I think and this does come full circle to the exploration in the Explorers Club book. What I think so captivated me about the idea was curiosity. And I didn't really know what I wanted to write about at the time, but I had this sense that every different project, whether it's a magazine article or a book or a newspaper article, at the time, websites were barely a thing, but each different topic would let me explore some different topic and scratch a different itch of curiosity. And I couldn't have seen this at the time. Oh, also as an aside, there were pros and cons for each one. And the con for writing was I have no background. The pro, I actually put this in the spreadsheet. I wish I still had it. Maybe I do somewhere in
That'd be cool
archives.
If you did, yeah.
Was there's no money in it. And I had that as a pro. And at the time I was maybe 21, 22 years old. And I remember thinking to myself, this is great. If I opt out of a career in finance where everyone is kind of defining success by their income, I'm like, that just feels, again, this is 21-year-old naive Jeff talking. I was like, I'm not sure that's the best way I want to define success or measure self-worth.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It doesn't.
So if I take myself,
money,
I opt out of that career path entirely and go on a different journey of writing where they're very different success metrics, that feels like a better path to assessing self-worth and having different kind of metrics over time. And that though, a couple of things. A, that's one of the most privileged choices one could possibly make. I was very, very lucky spot to be in.
Yeah.
And B, I mean, frankly, to you and your listeners, there were moments when I lived in New York as like a freelance writer living in Brooklyn in my like late 20s or early 30s. So I was like 21-year-old Jeff, go F yourself on your,
you're not the first guy to do
ideas.
That, though. I mean, there's many guys that have done that.
Right. So,
guys and gals, women.
Now it all worked. It all ended up working out well in all kinds of dimensions.
Yeah.
But that was ultimately it was about making a conscious effort to choose this career path more aligned with curiosity and kind of following your interests wherever they happen to navigate to, as opposed to like the kind of straight and narrow path I was on. And so in a way, the Explorers Club book was an interesting and like fascinating kind of connecting of all those dots of like, because like my other books were ranged from it being about firefighters to Alexander Hamilton to health trends. And the connective tissue to all of those is kind of following curiosity. And so it was truly satisfying to help tease out these one kind of unofficial mantra of the Explorers Club is curiosity acted upon, right? And so kind of my job as a chronicler of these stories of exploration is to tease out what was the burning question, whether it's Teddy Roosevelt's going down post-presidency in his ill-fated trip to the River of Doubt, which is kind of depicted in the new book, Letters from the Edge, or about astronauts, or about it could range from expeditions that don't get enough attention, like Adolphus Greely's Arctic expedition that ended in some respects in tragedy of many folks dying, but also in this triumph and success of him and a few others being saved by the heroism of his wife, right? So all of these stories, I try to highlight and illuminate the curiosity at the heart of these. And that has been extremely, it's fun to do. It is like you're talking about meeting heroes, yes. And also doing research on your heroes and learning more about your heroes and kind of getting these stories on the page in a way that readers find engaging. So it's been a lot of fun.
So is that curiosity run in your family? Where's that come from?
It's like a sneakily deep question about where this is
curiosity.
Sorry. I love it. Is curiosity, is that something that we're born with? Can it be cultivated? I think a couple.
Well, but we've all been around people that are curious, like you are. I'm a little curious that way, and also people that like don't give two shits about whatever. They just got to do it because they got to. It's on the syllabus or whatever. They don't care.
Yeah. I think two thoughts. Yes, I think I'm very fortunate to have parents who encourage me to ask questions, to kind of figure things out, to just try different paths. Very fortunate for that. But B, I also think that curiosity can be cultivated. And I think that it's not, I'm a big believer in growth mindset as opposed to fixed mindset. And I do believe that when we start asking questions, that snowballs into getting us to ask more and more questions, right? And so I think that it might be that my path as a journalist for now, almost 20 year plus career, that the more you start asking questions and being curious with this topic, before you know it, you're like, oh, well, actually, now that I've done research on this type of space exploration, I want to know about this kind of mission, this project, right? And it kind of opens more and more questions.
Yeah, and it's no surprising that how those guys all end up writing so many books, right? Because one book begets the next book, begets the next book. Because that curiosity opens this door, that door. Seems to never close a door. It always opens another door, and you just can't stop.
I mean, look at Winston Churchill, right? You mentioned the 4 or 5 things that I do and yourself did, but then he's 7 things he's doing, including just rallying to UK and the Allied forces to beat Nazism, but also writing always history books and also painting. It is, but he strikes me as someone who is just this a ocean of curiosity that keeps him going and going. Yeah.
Yeah. He floods his brain all the time. So how'd you get involved with Explorers Club? How'd you find that?
I'm very fortunate to have worked with the book's editor on prior books, including Alexander Hamilton's Guide to Life. And we realized it would be a great fit. And I think historically, my background, although topics often differ, I try and bring a storyteller's approach and a way to make engaging topics that can be either opaque or very disparate, right? To kind of take 37 different strands and find connective tissue and find a whole. And we realized that could be a great fit with the Explorers Club because, there have been thousands of members in the Explorers Club. And literally, as the archivist, the brilliant archivist of the Explorers Club, Lacey Flint, has once shared with me, she said, Jeff, every single member can have their own book of their exploration adventures. And many do, right? I'm sure there are literally...
Some have their own library.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it was a challenge and like a delightful challenge to find a common thread and to find kind of coherency through all these thousands of stories. And it was kind of a dream project for someone who loves research. For the first book, it's a mix of kind of archival, kind of quote unquote old classic tales of exploration, as well as modern explorers. And I worked with the club to find a through line of all of that. Wow. And the second book, the one that's out in October, Letters from the Edge, that had its own set of really cool challenges and exciting possibilities because we wanted to really showcase explorers speaking from their own voice at quote the edge. And I think we're all, and Rick, you're as an adventurer, as an outdoor guy, actually let me ask you this, when you, if you don't mind, if I can ask you, what is the quote, the edge? What does the edge mean to you?
The edge for me is when you get in over your head.
Yeah. Love that answer.
It doesn't matter what you're doing, but wherever you're doing it, when all of a sudden you look back and go, okay, this isn't what we planned. It's okay, but this is going to require a different change in attitude, a different, we got to suck it up here on this. We can relax on that. It just changes the whole dynamic when you get past that edge over your head.
That is an excellent answer. And it's also distinct from many other answers. One thing we did with this, and this coming back to your question of how do we all get together in Explorers Club, is for this collaboration. And the kind of way we approach this is we sent out a call to members asking for their stories and letters from the edge. And we also asked them, what does the edge mean to them? And I'm exaggerating a bit, but not much. If we get 100 responses, we get 100 different definitions, right? There were some thematic overlaps and spiritual alignment for sure, but many different answers. And so we intentionally kept the idea of, quote, the edge a little bit elastic, shall we say, and it can mean many things. It can mean, so yes, Rick told the idea of things over your head. We have stories of that kind of edge. There's also the edge of the known world, right? Back from olden times. There are, I interviewed scientists who are working on sending messages to folks on the outer side of the galaxy using the medium of holograms and propelling these holograms through lasers to get to the other side of the edge of the galaxy, right? There's the edge of life, life and death. There are stories of life and death in there. The edge of culture and like, what does it mean? Kind of getting a little more about their different cultures and what happens when those collide in different contexts. So it really did seem like for so many explorers, a lot of the reason we're doing this, I use the word again, not that I'm
the collective
I'm
we,
not including myself
Yeah.
of the folks doing the real work,
Yeah.
but the explorers who are setting out there, it's often when they go to the edge and discover something.
Right.
It might be about the worlds, it might be about themselves, it might be data, it might be this new unlocking knowledge about different species or vegetation, what have you, and then bringing that back home. That seemed like in a way, the essence, the core of exploration is to go to some edge, learn, gather an insight, and then come back home and have that insight better ourselves and humanity.
Yeah, because I think the thing about going to the edge or getting in over your head is it does either two things. One is it motivates you to push yourself to whatever limits, to exceed the limits you have for yourself and establish new limits. I'm going to go hike this higher mountain. I'm going to run this rougher rapid, whatever it is, right? As opposed to, no, I'm going to turn back and be comfortable and chill out. So I think that's really a big part of what motivates a lot of us to do the things that we do, right? It's just, I can't sit here and just do this.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm bored to tears.
It's getting out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, I got to get out, and I got to I got to get out. Not only I got to get out, I got to get out of my comfort zone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
Yeah. That's interesting. Hey friends, quick break here. If you're a destination marketing leader and your region is packed with amazing outdoor adventures, I want to hear from you. Let's get you on the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast to share those stories with our audience. Hit me up at rick@ricksaez.com and I'll send you all the deets. Let's inspire more folks to explore the wild side of your destination. But now, let's get back to the show. So tell listeners about the Explorers Club, a little bit about the group, and it's been going for a long time, as you mentioned.
Yes, as you mentioned, founded in 1904, and the folks who was, as you said, these were all like the OG, the most, the titans of exploration at their time. That's in the club's inception. It was originally focused largely on the pursuit, the chase, the North Pole and the South Pole, right? Folks like Robert Peary, folks who were had, and again, people like, I think people now, modern day listeners who listen to here, well, this crowd of this podcast, they get it. They get exploration, but a lot of folks,
I would say 90% of them, if not more. Yeah.
But for your average folk kind of out there in the world, the North Pole and South Pole doesn't mean much to them, right? But back in the 1890s, the North Pole was this mystical, fantastical.
Oh, the ends of the earth. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was thought of the way we think of like Mars or Jupiter, right? It was like, oh, will we ever get to Mars? Like, so, I mean, there were like, I was reading original texts of back then of folks wondering things like, will there be some kind of hidden society there? Will there be their version of like gold in North Pole was original? Who knows? We'd find North Pole. It started with that kind of quest for the poles. And I'm being very overly summarized here, but to give it without hitting all the beats, to give a quick sense of timeline. Eventually, of course, aviation became a bigger part of exploration, and then the space race, right? So some iconic members, Explorers Club, included John Glenn, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong. Buzz Aldrin, who's still an Explorers Club member to this very day, right? I was one of a moment I'll never forget. The very first day I walked in the Explorers Club, and has a headquarters in New York's Upper East Side. It's beautiful, kind of Jacobean mansion. It's like a Hogwarts for adults, right?
I've been by it, obviously not in it.
Oh, it's Rick. You'll next time. It's worth.
Check it out.
it's worth it. So when you walk in, you're kind of transported to this like magical time of yesteryear, where all of these incredible objects on the walls. And I was the very first day ever there. I was fortunate enough to be taken on a kind of a tour of the club, and the president of the club at the time, he held up a small little miniature flag of the Explorers Club. And a little context, the Explorers Club flag is kind of a iconic tradition at the Explorers Club where people, members have to apply to check out the flag for a flag mission. And they're always over 100 different flags, right? So, and each one has its own story because a flag might have been to the top of Mount Everest, and then that very same flag goes to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Then it might go to outer space. And in fact, the number eludes me, but there is actually a flag that did all three of those things. When James Cameron went down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in a submersible that he designed himself, he carried with him the Explorers Club flag. There's a photo of James Cameron, the Explorers Club flag. And when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, the story is not as well known as the other Neil Armstrong moments. Neil Armstrong had with him a small kind of miniaturized Explorers Club flag tucked in his spacesuit. And when he had his famous first walk, he carried the Explorers Club flag. That small flag exists in the Explorers Club. And the first day I was there, someone put it like there's a laminates, safety thing over it.
Sure.
He just let me hold it. I'm like, wait, this flag had been to the moon.
I get to touch it. Yeah, wow.
It's in my hand. I'm like, I should be at gunpoint here. How are you trusting me to hold this flag?
Right. You gonna kick me out afterwards? Give it back, and then I gotta leave.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you asked about the Explorers Club. That's kind of those are the stories and legends that are an integral part of Explorers Club. And then over the decades, that kind of shifted from trying to map the whole world, because of course we all know the world's well mapped, right? We have Google Maps, and we can now use
practically all mapped. Yeah,
exactly, right. So of course the ocean is unmapped, and there are explorers working on that. And of course there's an infinite amount of outer space and the universe to explore. But a big part of exploration has shifted over the past few decades from understanding the map to understanding our world more deeply, right? And that can include understanding the science of our planet more deeply. And not to get into not to go there, but I think it's non-controversial to say that the science of the world and the science of our planet and the science of climate change is more urgent now than ever.
Better figure that out, or there's not going to be any more of us.
Exactly. And so a good
I don't care who you are listening. That's just the facts, man.
Cosign. Totally agree. And a good chunk of exploration is focused on climate change science. And a lot of what we learn about climate change still happens from brave men and women going into the field and gathering data. And I've interviewed many of them that can going to the edge to get data, right? And that can include that could mean putting their life at risk. That still means like wintering at Antarctica and doing experiments there, right? And it's thankfully in this day and age, you're less likely to die doing that, but it still contains risks, and it's still like months and months of solitude and at times isolation in the name of science.
Well, and months of preparation before you even go, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so that's that. And this the new book, Letters from the Edge, is really about telling those stories, telling the stories of the explorers and scientists who are going to the edge to bring back that data and insight and knowledge that will benefit us as a whole of humanity.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. And it's interesting too that, I guess from my perspective, being as connected to the outdoor adventure world as I am, I don't feel like there's a lot known about the Explorers Club. I think they kind of, I don't know, you'll tell me, I don't know the promotional things and things that they do, but it seems like they keep that all tight, right? They don't really,
Yeah.
they don't fly the flag, they don't pound their chest, which is great. That's how it should be. I think people that do that is like, you didn't need to do that, but it's
There,
interesting.
it's a really interesting observation. And for a long time, there was a misconception that the Explorers Club is a quote secret club, a secret society, because they were so, to your point, Rick, for a long time, they just focused on doing the work. Like we care about, we're not here to thump our chests. We're not here to be in the spotlight.
And that's true of so many of the outdoor world and the outdoor explorers. That's
absolutely.
I'm not going to go run that river so I can go brag about it. I'm going to go run that river because I'm going to have a blast doing it.
One thing I learned early on that some of the insiders told me is, hey, some of the absolute top-notch, world-class icons of exploration, they'll be in this beautiful members lounge bar area at Explorers Club, and they'll be the ones kind of sitting back in reserve, just listening, maybe a little twinkle in their eye, and then sometimes the more the less experienced ones are the ones who are often, no one Explorers Club, but you know what I'm saying? People who it's almost like the more you've done, the more you care about it, the less you feel a need to let me tell you stories. Right. And I think that's the ethos of the club for so long is, hey, we're just focused on moving the needle of human knowledge and scientific discovery. And we don't really care about the limelight. So it's historically been not a secret society, but a relatively just doing the work in private one. And I think the pivot, this new book, Letters from the Edge, I think that, and I'm not speaking for the club as a whole, but my own perspective on this personally is that there was an understanding that, okay, it's actually great in the name of exploration to help get some of these amazing stories out there, help inspire others to explore, right? I think that the club really does want to promote and inspire a love of exploration and to get more folks in the fold, right? Maybe there are young women, men, teenagers out there who just coming full circle, just as when 21-year-old Jeff had my nerdy spreadsheet as a finance analyst, pros and cons, it didn't occur to me to have exploration on there, hopefully sharing these kinds of stories of going to the edge and kind of like overcoming, to your point about being over your head, right? And like to overcoming adversity and also as an aside, Rick, as a writer, as a storyteller, I mean, I just love conflicts. I just love journeys and plot, right? So it's like, and when you go to the edge, kind of the best stories are there, right? So so it's the life and death stuff. It's oh my God, we don't have like food for 5 days. How we live. Those are the kind of like stories that are gripping. And
or even just not even the life and death stuff, just the wildness of where you were and the adventure that you were on, right? I mean, you and I have both been to places where, I wasn't worried about dying, but damn, I was worried about getting hurt, and I was worried about, it's just crazy.
Well, and there's such a variety of stories too. And that was as a storyteller, it's kind of fun. In a way, this gets back to your question of what's the Explorers Club about? It's hopefully in this day and age, it's not always life and death. Like if every expedition with life and death, we'd all be doing something very wrong. But what's cool is, I think anyone who's in the outdoors a lot can relate to this. The journey might take you to surprising places. And some of the stories from the edge are, like in one case, a woman who is a weather reporter, and she's literally a storm chaser. Like her job was to chase tornadoes and hurricanes and report from the scene. And in this, at one of the most severe storms of the last century, there was devastation all around her. And it was this very grim scene. And she was looking into the wreckage and peered down on the ground and saw what seemed to be like a jewelry box. And she like, well, this is weird. I don't be pilfering, but I also just want to see what this is. Yeah. And she opened it up, and it turned out they were their wedding rings and their engagement rings. And she's like, oh my God, this is like people were fleeing their homes. She's like, I can't like, I need to get this to the owner. Yeah. And she was able to work with the local authorities there, and then she posted this on, at the time, Twitter. Oh, cool! And it went viral. Yeah. And eventually, she found the woman it belonged to. Wow. And not only was it important, it belonged to a woman who recently lost her husband, and that ring was like the last tangible connection she had to him, last object. And she was able to kind of return this ring to this woman. This kind of story from the edge. I share this to say that there were as a journalist, as someone who loves stories, it was really heartening to see that not every story is about the life and death. I mean, some are, but some others, there's kind of small pockets of humanity and hope as well.
Yeah. That's what I love about it. That's what I've learned about it. Just a lot of research and talking to you. I knew I was going to learn something, but I didn't know that part of I thought it was all about exploration and, all the adventure side and all that stuff. This is interesting.
Cool it's so many different. That's one of the cool things about the Explorers Club is there is the adventuring side of things and like kind of like the rapids and rivers for sure, but there's also more of at times science focus and times more of like what's we cover in the first book the rover, actually the second book, not to spoil things, but Letters from the Edge kind of culminates in the story of a rover on Mars that was like intrepidly roving along for years and years and years, and kind of like the surprisingly emotional tale of this robot who who kind of over delivered on its own purpose, and how all these scientists got emotional about the robot, right? Yeah, so there's always different flavors of stories in there.
Oh, interesting. So let's talk about Letters from the Edge. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So the idea was that, as you mentioned, there's so many different types of the edge out there, right? We have stories about the people living on the edge of consciousness.
We all have our own edge, right? I mean, there can be
exactly. It's just and even you alluded to it earlier, Rick, of like it's kind of one reason that it got you into this was wanting to get out of your room, right? To get out of your comfort zone, right? So that's and I do think that through these stories of seeing how kind of world-class explorers are able to navigate the challenges at the edge, I do think it kind of gives inspiration for readers to how to think about kind of our own edge, right? And I'm guessing my personal edge is not at Mount Everest or the bottom of the ocean. I'm guessing most of your listeners, even though they're adventure focused and do awesome things, right, they're probably not going to the moon, but right, still, you don't have to.
Hey, if somebody invites me though.
Hey, exactly. Yeah. And if you are, call Rick and I. We're on board. But we all have, to your point, we all have an edge in our own life, and I love the idea of readers getting inspiration and even some optimism about how to think about their own challenges at their own version of the edge, and what we can learn from some of these, world-class explorers that range from, Teddy Roosevelt to Jane Goodall.
It's amazing. Yeah. That's a great example of all the variety of edges, right? I mean, I think it's, as we've said a number of times, everybody's edge is different. There's no one definition of edge, and it's more of a physical thing than it is probably a mental thing than it is a place, right? Because we can all go to some place and it become, we didn't, How many times have you been on an adventure and you thought it was going to be relaxing, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm on the edge here. What happened?
Totally
Right?
agree. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. And
You never
and
know.
sometimes like sometimes the best stories are when things go sideways. It's like, well, the mission was
That's
supposed to
it.
go
That's
X, Y,
it.
and Z, and somehow here we are. The
I
plane,
can't tell
the
you how many
engine.
times I've said
Yeah.
a story's not good until the shit hits a fan. Then it becomes really good. I mean, depending on
Exactly.
the storyteller and all that, but once you get in a predicament, that makes a good story.
I'm going to quote you in that. Love it.
So speaking of that, what's the wild exploration you've ever undertaken?
This might disappoint listeners who are want to imagine me with like just armed only with like a knife going into the jungle and I'm gonna survive for 7 days.
Right.
Probably the most kind of unorthodox thing I did was sold everything I owned in 2017 and collapsed my entire life into one bag. And said, I'm going just to be full time traveling on the world indefinitely with no home base and switch countries. I tried on average to live places for a month. So I would go from Lisbon for a month to Berlin
Cool, right.
to Chiang Mai to Hanoi and on and on. Right. So
Awesome.
I can't claim to be charting new grounds or but it was for me the experience of kind of hurling myself out there to like with the idea of like I can go every country I want to like next week was incredibly liberating and
Yeah.
stimulating.
Yeah.
I think the most absurd moment was I was in Thailand and an apartment with my rent or like a month-long lease or whatever, and it expired on a Tuesday, and it was like Monday nights, and I knew I had to be out the next day. I did not yet have a flight anywhere else, and I went to bed saying, I am not sure if tomorrow I am going to be going to sleep still here in Thailand, or do I go to the airport and go to Colombia
Right.
or to Croatia or to
Whatever
I
flight
think I
has
was
an
also
open seat.
considering. Yeah, I was literally I had three different. There were three continents. I was like, we're gonna when I wake up, we're gonna see what the we're gonna see what the prices are of the flights,
Yeah,
and
right.
then I will go to whatever continent has the best deal. Right. So
Yeah.
that kind
Wow,
of
right.
that kind of unfettered freedom and the ability just to kind of like hopscotch around the globe
Yeah.
was something that really spoke to me at the time.
Yeah, yeah. That's I've never done that, but that's like one of those things that's right up my alley. Yeah. Anything wild physically that you've done? Like we talked about the climbing and the rafting and all that stuff. Anything there?
Yeah, I think the a few years ago I did the backpacks the Torres de Paine Patagonia
Oh, cool.
for and I'm not someone I hike all the time. I live in Denver and obviously there's just a smorgasbord of
Yeah.
outdoor trails and hiking around here. So I'm a pretty solid hiker. I hadn't done as much of like the carry your own food and all your gear for like 7 days or what have you, right? So that was a great challenge in a couple of levels. One, just physically, it was when as listeners probably know, the wind there can be like a class. I think the most fear. I have a video of myself and a few others out there, like trying to just like
Yeah.
getting bowled over. Like, you're using hiking sticks
Yeah.
and you're hanging on flat ground, Rick. It's flat ground. You're
right.
trying not to get like pushed. We actually did like
yeah.
there's a video
Blown
of us
off the
getting
continent,
like
not
we're-
just blown over, blown off the continent.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
luckily we did not get off the continent, but the video of us knocked down like a bowling ball knocked into us like pins. We all just fall down from the wind, right? So
Wow, yeah.
that and then so yeah, that was a fun challenge. And also I went with someone who I was single at the time. She was single. I wasn't sure what this vibe would be, and I won't I won't share more than that. But that was going on like an epic 12-day trip like that with someone you barely know, and we're not sure what the dynamic would be like.
Yeah.
Has a whole other set.
That's an adventure right there.
Stories, exactly. So yes,
right there.
Some other time we'll go more into that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. What about? Is there one on your list? A bucket list?
Yeah, for years I've wanted to do the Annapurna circuit, and
cool.
It's just the time commitment of I believe like 27 days. I think on average is
it's a long one. Yeah.
So it's tough to find with the you know how it is. We always want to do it, but with the real life constraints, tough to carve out a full month off the grid. But I still want to do it sometime.
You got to retire. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's about it. And then just semi-retire. Short-term retirement.
I like that. Yeah, love it.
I've done that. I've quit jobs a handful of times to go do something like that. That's one of my why my resume is so littered. But hey, you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world.
Absolutely, it works for you. Absolutely,
it
keeps it spicy and interesting for sure.
Yeah. How about some of the rewarding experiences you've had working with the Explorers Club? I mean, just hanging out, being rubbing elbow with that group's got to be pretty.
Oh
awesome.
Man, as I mentioned up top, it's you're not going to find a more interesting group of people. And the cool thing too is most everyone is down to earth, and you kind of have to like tease out. Wait, you were in like last week you like saved 35 lives doing that. What?
Yeah.
and then it kind of like snowballs into a larger story. And yeah, I think that circling back to how you started this about what makes us want to explore, I do think that exploration touches something so elemental inside of us.
Yep.
And every time I walk in at headquarters, or every time I'm lucky enough to go into the archives where there are these treasures of like old letters and old maps, right, from the 1800s, and the photograph like that. Teddy Roosevelt's lantern slides he took when on the River of Doubt, when those were in Explorers Club. Yeah. Whenever I just feel the weight of all of this, the imports, there is kind of magic that you feel when you walk through those doors. Yeah. And that's the magic we try and evoke with the book as well.
Cool. I gotta check that book out. Yeah. And is there, of all the places you've been, is there one that stands out, or one that you just want to go back to? For me, it's
yeah.
I don't have that. I want to go to the next place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of places that I like to go to, and I would go back, and I have gone. But for me, it's always the next place.
People ask me when I was on that kind of like 2.5 year journey of constantly traveling.
Yeah.
People ask me, "What was your favorite country?" And I'm the sucker who wherever I get somewhere, I'm like, this place is wonderful. This is great. I'm just so happy to be at new places. Yeah. So for the first like week, wherever I go, I'm like, this is awesome. I want to just like completely understand and explore here. So that's my cop out safe answer right there.
That makes sense. I can relate to that. And how can listeners get involved with the Explorers Club?
Yeah. So if you Google the Explorers Club, it'll take you to their URL. I believe it's explorers.org. Let me double check.
I'll look it up and put it in the show notes.
Okay, great. Explorers.org. And there's an Instagram account. It's fantastic. And I'm legally obligated to share that. No, all kidding aside, this upcoming book of Letters from the Edge gives you a really great sense of what the Explorers Club is all about. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I look forward to checking that out. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. All right. A couple of fun questions as we get to the end here. What's your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
That's actually an easy one. The Osprey has like a little small kind of stuff sack that collapses into the size of maybe like a golf ball when it's not in use. And when you unpack it, it's a pretty high quality, rugged day backpack, right? So I do not leave my home. I will not leave the home. If I'm going to the grocery store, I don't bring that. I do not get on a flight anywhere without this Osprey bag. And also, they're not a sponsor. It's unsolicited. I just, it's so easy to scrunch wherever you want. And that way, because I have like we all have our annoying like backpack for that holds a laptop and so on. But if you just want something, if you're traveling, you might not want to bring your bulky laptop backpack for like little day trips. So this little Osprey bag is a perfect day bag companion.
Yeah, cool. We'll find that link to the show notes. And how about books? All the books you've read and get to read. Do you have a couple favorites?
On the exploration theme, I mean, the classic that I think about over every now and then is the kind of iconic book about Shackleton's expedition, Endurance by Alfred Lansing.
Amazing,
right? That is
story. Yep.
Not only is the story is amazing, and the writing is so good. It's the prose is so matter of fact, so kind of like almost it's a Hemingway-esque, and has a literary quality to it. Yeah. Telling this remarkable story. So that's probably my favorite exploration book. Other books that have nothing to do with that, but I probably have informed me in certain ways. Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, kind of about the various ways that our brain works and kind of how we have these different patterns and biases and heuristics and kind of what influences how our brains function in certain ways. And fiction-wise, I'm a huge Murakami fan, and so love his novels, things like Wild Sheep Chase and stuff like that.
Cool, yeah. That Shackleton story. I got to go down to Antarctica and we landed on Grytviken Island, so we got to see some of that stuff that they were at, and then we sailed by the little place where they were holed up. It was just like,
whoa,
oh my God, it was just fantastic. I was down there on a Sobek trip. Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm envious.
That's just a classic story. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's remind you, don't hang up when we sign off from the questions. So how can people follow up? What's the best way to get in touch with you? And
sure. I'm on, my website is jeffwilser.com. They can find me on X/Twitter at just my name, Jeff Wilser, or LinkedIn, my name as well. But definitely drop me a line and say hello.
Cool. Yeah. We'll link to all that stuff in the show notes. Well, fascinating conversation. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. We could probably do another episode about this.
I know. We're just scratching the surface.
I'm up for it if you want. We can totally do it in round 2.
Really enjoy it, sir. Really enjoy it.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, ricksaez.com, where you'll find show notes and links to everything we talked about and more. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, give us a rating on Apple Podcast or spread the word and tell a friend. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week, and thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast.